Welcome to the Impromptu podcast. I'm your host, Bridget Hayes. As a digital literacy specialist at Sonoma County Library, I organize and operate the camera library, sound studios, our cable access channel, community room, audio and video equipment, and teach classes. I thought it would be fun to involve the community in a storytelling podcast that we'll share on our YouTube channel and Santa Rosa Cable Access channel. Here's how it goes. We give you a prompt. Examples include when I was 5, my dream vacation, my first job. You have 1 minute to think about the prompt. Then we start recording. Tell us your name if you'd like. Then you have 3 minutes to tell your story using the prompt somewhere in the story. Each episode will feature a new prompt. At the end of the 3 minutes, we'll ring a bell. If you haven't finished telling your story, you'll be allowed to finish your sentence, and then we stop recording. You can tell your story any way you want. It can be fiction, nonfiction, funny, sad, historical, futuristic, but your story must be family friendly. That means PG or friendlier. You must use the prompt somewhere in your story, and you only have 3 minutes to tell it. Let's start with our first storyteller.
Let's see. The best gift I ever gave was my donation to the survivors in Gaza. I had been seeing everything that was going on and happening for a while now, or a while up to that point, and I had felt powerless and useless because, all this stuff was happening over there, all this terrible stuff, and I was just some guy who could, what was I worth? What was I doing over here? Just enjoying my little, upper middle class life while all of these people were dying on the other side of the planet. And at some point I realized, hey, I'm still living with my parents. I'm still under this roof, supported by everything. I don't have to worry about taxes or what have you. I'm in this position where I have a respectable amount of money that I could, it's just sitting there doing nothing except being used to buy video games or, ice cream with my friends or some crap like that. And so I realized, all this money that's sitting there, it could be used to actually help someone. And so I donated a good half of all of my savings to the people over there. I mean, it still doesn't feel like enough, and I don't know if it ever will, but, no matter how much I donate, but it felt good to be part of something bigger and grander. And I know obviously my feelings on it don't really matter because they're the ones suffering and I'm just some guy, but it's I don't know, it helps me sleep at night, I guess, to know that I did the best I possibly could to, try and change the world. And, maybe I'll have some more power at some other point in my life, and maybe I can do that same thing again. All right, I'm done.
Hi, my name is Pablo. The best gift I ever gave is probably, gift of friendship, brotherhood, I guess. Gift of being there for someone, or helping someone feel loved and supported, recognized. I think that's probably one of the best gifts I've ever given. I suck at physical gifts, and I'm not the best at giving advice or giving people the best tips. But if you need anything, I'll do my best to be there. And if you want to get into some trouble together, I'll get into some trouble with you. So, yeah, I think that's all I got.
In case you just joined us, welcome to the Impromptu podcast, where we give you a prompt. You have 1 minute to think about the prompt, then we start recording. You have 3 minutes to tell your story using the prompt somewhere in the story. At the end of 3 minutes, we'll ring a bell. If you haven't finished telling the story, you'll be allowed to finish your sentence, and then we stop recording. Each episode will feature a new prompt.
My name's Graham. The best gift I ever gave, my wife and I gave our daughter a used car when she turned 16, but the way we gave it to her was a big surprise. We played it off like it was a replacement car for my wife, that she was tired of driving the big minivan and she wanted something a little smaller, a little sportier, a little more economical. And so when we pretended to give it to my wife and she politely declined, my daughter and son, they weren't in the know, they were flabbergasted, to say the least, couldn't believe that she was discounting and dismissing this elaborate gift. And then we turned to our daughter and said, "It's actually for you." And so she broke down into tears. We got it all on video. It was pretty amazing.
Hello, my name is Justin, and I have a little story to tell. When I first met my wife, my dad finally retired, and he was afraid that she was taking me far away, which was about 3 hours from where I lived, and he was worried they wouldn't see me too often. Well, little did my dad know that his birthday was coming up, and we never mentioned it to him, and he was, thinking that his son might have, forgot about him now that he had a girl in his life that took him farther away, which was approximately about 3 hours away. Well, I contacted my mom, and I told her that we wanted to visit my dad, but we did not want him to know. And on the day of, my dad was standing at the front of his window, staring outside, sad that he wasn't going to see his son for his birthday. My mom knew, my wife and I both knew, and we drove up, and he saw us driving up on the road. And from the window, you have a perfect view of about a quarter mile seeing a car come into his house. He was staring, and he was very confused from what my mom told me. And he was getting more and more excited as the car kept getting closer and closer. And when we finally drove up, we could see in his face, just staring out the window, that he was ecstatic that his son was coming to see him on his birthday. And for me, I think the greatest gift was seeing how happy and excited my dad was to know that he was not going to be spending a birthday without his son there after he moved so far away. And that was the best gift I think I could ever give somebody.
Thanks for listening to the Impromptu podcast. We had some great storytellers on the show today. Isn't it incredible what amazing stories people can share in only 3 minutes? Join us next week for a new impromptu prompt and 10 new storytellers. If you want to tell your story, just email estreet@sonomalibrary.org. That's estreet@sonomalibrary.org, and we will let you know when and where we are recording next.